Okay. So hi everybody, I'm Sue Edward. I'm the new elections coordinator for this year, as of 6 days ago. So tonight on the Green Spotlight, we're going to talk about the upcoming elections. Go ahead and change it. And we're going to talk about two things, running in November, and then also running for the ward or township committee people. So I'm going to split this presentation into those two subjects, and we'll start with the November elections. Okay, so the seats that are up for election this coming November, we got all of the U.S. House, all the districts, governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, treasurer, the odd-numbered state senate districts, and all of the state house districts. And you see the ones that have an asterisk next to them. We have to get 2% of the vote for one of these offices to maintain our ballot status. So it's crucial that we put a lot of work into this upcoming election. And from a strategic point of view, we should have somebody running for each one of these offices because that'll increase our chances of getting that 2%. And the ones that are in green is we've had at least one person indicate that they're interested in running for that seat. So if someone said, yeah, I really want to run for something, I want to run for governor, well, maybe we might try to talk you into treasurer just to kind of do that, spread it out as we talked about. But if there are two people that do want to run, then you would face each other in the primary, and then the winner would be on the November ballot. So that's more effort to be put in toward the primary. So there are some strategic reasons to kind of fill in the empty ones. But again, if you're really psyched up for saying, I want to be governor, I feel everybody who wants to run for office should be running for office, should have the right to run. So there are some age and residency requirements that do vary by office. I mean, typically if you just moved here from out of state like a month ago, you're not eligible. And we'll go over that in the upcoming training that I'm going to talk about. If you want to run for attorney general, you have to be licensed to practice law. So we need to find an attorney who shares our green values and is interested, ideally. There are filing fees. They're not super outrageous. It's not the presidential one where it was $1,000, but they range from $50 to $100 to $200 depending on the seat. The fees for the offices we've already talked about are payable to the state party, and if you are a member, you will get that fee back to you as a campaign contribution. So if you have somebody who's interested, who shares our values, but they're not a member, and they want to run on our ballot line, talk them into becoming a member. Otherwise, we're going to keep their filing fee. So they need to be a member to get that back. You have to file in person in Jefferson City. The filing period starts on the morning of February 25th through March 31st. So you have a little more than a month. It would be kind of cool if, like we did it 2 years ago, where as many Greens as possible all went and filed at the same time. We did a little photo op, we invited the media, none of the media showed up. But we took our own pictures. That'd be kind of cool, but if you can't, you can't. But at least this way maybe you could carpool or something else. And maybe meet the other candidates from other parts of the state. Okay. So if that's something you think you're interested, what is your next step? We're going to offer 2 workshops. We had this workshop during the state convention. We're going to repeat it. We're going to do it twice. This Saturday, the 8th at 3 at the Southeast Library, and that's on Swope. And then again, March 14th at noon at the Bluford Library, which is up on Prospect, I believe. And this way you have some time, so if you do have somebody you're trying to talk into it, they don't have to decide by Saturday because, oh, I'll miss the training. So, and they are going to be the same. If you want to come to both, you can, but it's not like a part 1, part 2. They will be kind of a repeat of each other. We're going to talk about the boring stuff and the fun stuff. The boring stuff is, how do I file? How do I open a bank account? What kind of ongoing filings, financial filings do I have to do? What kind of, reporting? And then the fun stuff would be, how do I run a campaign? How do I get my message out? How do I talk to the media? How do I talk to constituents? And at least for the first one, and hopefully for both, Jo Crane, who is our Senate candidate, she's going to join us and talk about some of the campaigning portion of this. So if you guys are interested, please come. Okay, next next one. And even if you're on the fence and you're not really sure, come anyway. Maybe we can answer some of your questions. And then if you have additional questions, you can send an email that'll go to me when I remember to actually look at it. If not, bug Nathan, he knows how to get a hold of me. Or Malaysia, or just about anybody. I think you guys probably all have my email anyway. Okay, any questions on the November, state level running as a candidate or starting to think about it? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Who is running right now already? And
Nobody's filed yet, but the
Okay.
people who've expressed interest, Kimberly has expressed interest for Secretary of State.
okay,
Kelly has expressed interest for Lieutenant Governor, and Jerome Bauer from St. Louis has expressed interest in Governor. But until somebody actually files, they're not running. I mean, they can kind of declare, but legally, not until they file. But yeah, we have 3 people who've expressed interest.
so, and what's left on that list of little asterisks is
Treasurer and Attorney General,
And
but
attorney.
most of us probably don't qualify for Attorney General. I know I don't. But again, if you had your heart set on being governor, then maybe Jerome could be talked into being treasurer, or you guys just go head to head in a primary or something like that. If you want to run, don't not run because of that. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the ward and township committees. This is extremely confusing, and it's state law, so we don't really have much choice, so we kind of have to do this. But ward and township committees are actually the people who make up the legal entity of the Green Party. Just what we're doing here tonight is considered a club. We are not the party. The party is made up of the people who are elected to be committee people. And they're elected during the primary in August. It's a 2-year term. There's 1 committee man and 1 committee woman, state, not my words, per ward or township. And like Kansas City is split up into wards, but like where I live in Lee Summit, it's all one prairie township. So that's how they just organize it or broke it up. So the elected committee people, they form the county committee where they live. And then depending also where they live, they might also form the State House Committee and the State Senate Committee and the Congressional Committee and so on and so on. So go to the next one, please. Everybody should run for their local ward or township. There's very, very little time commitment. After the state law tells you after the election when you have to meet and where, but after that, there's really nothing, to be honest. You have initial meetings. We had a face-to-face meeting for the committee, or I'm sorry, for the county committee people because there was a bunch of us. We did a face-to-face for the congressional district committee because there was a bunch of us. But to be honest, for my state house and state senate, I did it by phone, and it was just me, and I nominated myself. And the way it works is like you have to live in that district. And then the officers, well, first let's start with the county. And again, this is very confusing. If you don't understand it, don't worry about it. But all the people who are elected belong to their county's committee. And at that first meeting, they elect officers. You'll have a chair, a vice chair, or maybe co-chair, I'm not sure how they word it, secretary and treasurer. And then the chair and vice chair could also serve on a committee within the county, even if they don't live in it. So let's say a state senate district. Let's use an example. Last year, David, or 2 years ago, David was the treasurer for the Jackson County Committee. He doesn't live in Senate District 8, but I do. So I nominated myself as chair, but David could serve as like treasurer. He just can't be chair or vice chair. So you could end up on multiple committees.
And they had no bank account, so it was a very easy position.
What's that?
And you had no bank account for that committee,
Yeah,
so there was
no bank
It was
account.
very easy to be the treasurer.
We had a 30-second phone call, literally. I mean, the meeting had to happen in the district, so I sat my butt on my couch. David phoned me. I said, I nominate myself as chair. I nominate you as treasurer. Meeting adjourned. Literally 30 seconds. That was the extent of the work for two years. But the reason we do this is if there's a special election, these are the people who get to nominate the candidate. So if there's a special election, like my my state house candidate passed away, so I don't have a rep in the House. But if they call a special election, myself and David get to nominate whoever that candidate's gonna be. So you do have a little bit of influence there, but other than that, if there is no special election, after that initial meeting, that's pretty much it, as far as what you're required to do. You do have to file in person at your county election board. In Jackson County, it's the one downtown, not the one in Independence. For other counties, like if you live in Clay or Platte or something, double check, it should be on their website, but I assume you only have like one.
Yeah, every other county only has one courthouse.
Yeah.
Jackson
So
is
why do they have two? Who knows? It's the same filing period, February through March. The fee is $25. The fees go to the Kansas City chapter rather than the state. And then again, if you're a member, that fee will be reimbursed to you.
We should double check that, because I believe it's paid to the county committee, but we should make sure. And then,
Okay. Because the county committee doesn't have a bank account.
Yeah, last time we paid it to either state or the chapter, I can't, well, we reversed it to the person, so they're actually,
yeah, so,
Yeah.
I mean, the treasurer of whichever committee we pay it to needs to give a receipt to
Right.
people to present when they're filing. That's the important thing.
Right, and what we did 2 years ago, because it was our first
That
time
was
doing it,
about-
as far as I know, it was our first time, we basically wrote receipts and pretended to hand money back.
we had money that we slid
Yeah.
across the table and then back, and then the
Yeah.
next person came up and it went across the table
It was
and
a
back.
transaction.
Yeah.
The transaction happened
but it-
very well.
If you don't have that receipt when you go to file, you will have to pay the clerk, and then eventually it'll make its way back to you.
Yeah.
So, clear as mud. Next slide. I think that was the last one. So any questions? I really want to encourage everybody, again, to be ward or township committee. We can appoint people to vacancies, and if you don't file, you can write yourself in, but there's no guarantee that someone else might not write themselves in, or a couple of people write themselves in, and you lose 2-1. And to be honest, when I filed for township committee, I assumed I would win with 1 vote, my own. I got 20 votes. I have no, and there were write-ins also, I have no idea who these other people are. But they had to specifically ask for the Green Party primary ballot as opposed to Democrat or Republican, and I got 20 votes. So don't assume you can just wait and then write yourself in, because you might lose 20-1.
Are you going to be like letting all of the members know what ward and township committees they're eligible for, so that we know, and like provide us with the application? Well, you don't know because of different applications, but
Yeah, you can get the application when you just show up at the county clerk and say, hey, I want to file for, ward committee, and then they'll give you whatever they need to give you.
It's like 3 lines.
Yeah, name, address, signature, or something like that.
and this is usually available online probably from the county website.
Yeah, I don't know if you can download it in advance.
Can't
I assume
remember.
you probably could.
They just had a bunch of them printed when I went down there last time.
The other thing
You
is,
just gotta
as
take
far
that
as,
receipt, and I think
if
it
you
really
don't
does
know
answer your other
what
question.
ward you're in, it's probably, you can look it up. I think there's a site where you can put in your address and it'll tell you what districts you're in.
See,
If not, the clerk will tell you at the time you go to file.
see,
I'm actually in the middle of letting all the members know where they are. I started doing that before the turnover, and I then haven't done anything about it in the last 2 weeks, but it's on my list of things to do in the next week, so.
Okay.
You should be, if you are a member and we have your email address, you should be getting an email from me or from Sue that says, hey, would you like to stand for a ward or township committee? You are a member of, or you're a resident of ward thus and such, or thus and such township.
and if you're the sort of person that keeps your voter ID card,
It's
it's
on
on there too.
I have no idea where
Sorry,
it
go
is.
ahead.
Just got it tonight.
I think it'd be a good idea to, at the March meeting, have, do the receipts as to the extent possible, since we'll all be here.
Yeah.
And maybe send that out, saying, hey, you can come get your filing receipt if you're gonna do that. And then, you know, whoever's the, I do believe it's the county committee treasurers.
That should be right. I have the one from last time, so I can
Okay.
build it off that. I'm pretty sure Val was the county treasurer at the time.
Yeah.
Right, and those people can, but we'll need one for Clay and, you know, maybe Platt, I don't know. Depends on who shows up,
Right.
to do receipts.
And, you know, even if you don't get that receipt, eventually, you know, the county clerk will take it, and then they'll
That's
send
true.
it to
Yeah.
us, and then we'll give it to you. Eventually, it'll get back to you, but, you know,
That
you'll be
is-
out that money in the meantime. And one thing I did not mention about the, if you're running at the state level, if you, like Joe Civinetti, why did I call him that? He's, our state treasurer, and he's gonna try to get to Jefferson City on whatever day we as a group decide to go, if we decide to do that. If not, you can write a check, take a picture of it, email it to him, and he will email you back a receipt. You can use that receipt for filing. So maybe we can consider doing something like that here too, if we can't.
Sure.
I guess someone can't make it to the
Can't
March
make it.
meeting and they want
That's
to
a good
file.
idea.
Okay, we're about 5 minutes behind, but no big deal. Small group tonight.
I think we'll march through.
Any other questions? Come find me after. Yes.
I just wondered if everybody who's been a candidate can say why we should all consider it. What did you get out of being a candidate that, from being in the Green Party? What was, I mean, this is open for anybody to respond.
You mean for
I've-
Warder Township Committee?
Or like a
Or
higher
like
level.
a elected.
Well, no, not the lower level where you don't do anything, but I just meant a big, where you go in front of people and you have to talk and stuff. Can somebody address
Yeah, I mean, I've
what
run, Nathan has
value,
run.
what
I
you
don't know if you
learned
have
from
you
that?
actually run for office?
Well, Bob ran for
Bobby
office.
ran, so maybe, I mean, I can start, I ran 3 times in South Carolina. The first time was a special election for state senate, and it was really stupid, but by state law, they had to have it, and whoever won literally served for a couple of weeks before the general election, but by law, they had to do it. I filed to do it just to get the experience.
There you go.
The Republican beat the Democrat by 13 votes, I had 53, so I was the new Ralph Nader.
Good job.
Good job.
And then that was 2012. In 2014, I ran for state house because my state house rep, he was Speaker of the House, had been there for 22 years, was almost always unopposed, was corrupt as hell, and I didn't like the fact that he was going to be unopposed. So the second to last day before filing closed, I filed, and then on the final day, a Democrat filed. So it was a 3-way race. And shortly before the election, as part of his plea deal to stay out of jail, he had to withdraw because he was indicted for campaign finance, inappropriate things. Like he claimed that he used his private plane to travel to a state event, and they're like, well, your cell phone data shows you were traveling 60 miles an hour. How come your plane didn't fall out of the air? So, you know. Anyway, but the cool thing about that is I got media attention because suddenly it was a 2-way race between me and the Democrat for this, you know, Republican stronghold seat. And the media started paying attention to us, otherwise they wouldn't have bothered. And I had a reporter assigned to me from one of the TV stations, so not all of them did, but one station did, and she would like call me every day and say, you doing anything I should know about today? No, I'm just going to work. Okay, well, let me know if you do. But the fact that they did that, I thought was pretty cool. And then my third race was just for school board. It was 2 open seats, 7 candidates. I came in third, which is kind of good because I ended up moving away shortly after. So, maybe if you want to share yours, or
Yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. I would
I'm not
definitely
gonna
do it
say something
again.
on my camera anymore.
And, you know, it was unopposed. I mean, you know, Zay, I basically said, tell me what you'll be run for, I'll run for something. And so Zay said, run for Jackson County Executive. We got this, weak candidate that's unopposed, this weak incumbent that's unopposed. We all know who that is, I won't name any names. And got 27,000 votes. 35,000 votes, 27% of the vote. So, I mean, there's opportunities there, so, I think we got a lot of recognition for that. I mean, I get asked all the time, Now, are you gonna run, are you gonna run, are you gonna run? You know, people are excited about it, you know, so it's, you know, I think it's an important thing to do, and I think that it's bringing democracy, you know, because if we don't run, many of these races are literally unopposed. Or maybe there's or a weird Republican running in this Democratic district, but the Republican Party's not behind him, and he's probably some nutcase, and the same for the Democrat running in a Republican district. You know, so we're really bringing new ideas and opening up the Democratic debate into a very closed, political ecosphere. And so I think that our contribution is crucial, so, I encourage everybody to do it,
Well, this is, a value and interesting, but off topic, and we're getting behind time, so, I'd like to talk about when I ran for State House Representatives. I'm sure Bob would like to talk about when she ran too, but maybe that'd be another, time for this particular topic. I'd like to hear about this kind of stuff. But,
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.